things you're doing is checking social media. Today we're diving deeper into this topic. We're going to be talking to specialists. We're also going to be talking to people from right here in our office to ask them a little bit more about their social media habits and a key question that we want you to take home, which is how conscious every single day are you about how much you shape your social media usage? Have you used it, taken a step back, understood how you want to be on social media, and then step back in? Because whether it's a stunning outfit someone that you know is wearing, or it's a celebrity life that you follow moment by moment, all of us are sucked into online. But how much sharing is too much sharing? That's obviously the big question. Whether you're a sharer or a lurker, because that's another thing. A lot of us aren't posting. We just spend hours looking at reels, looking at other people's Instagrams. All of this and the drawbacks we'll be taking a deeper dive into today. First, let's start off the show with a sort of honest tell-all. So I checked my own phone as we were starting the show. My social media usage is quite high. It's about an hour and a half every single day on just one or two social media apps. But we also thought we have to bring in more voices here. So we have with us from right here in our newsroom, because we wanted to hear from both millennials and Gen Zs. We have Shantanu Sarkar. Shantanu, you're 25 plus. And we have with us over here Ayusha. Ayusha, you are 23. We wanted to get a slightly younger voice in too. Both of you are joining us. Thank you for joining us so bright and early on the show. So I just want to tell you, our audiences, both of them have also shared their social media usage with us. And we'll actually be playing it out for you. We'll show you their social media usage as we talk to each of them. We'll go over to Shantanu first to ask him. Shantanu, you use Instagram for more than an hour every day. Firstly, thank you for revealing that data to us. Tell us, before we go ahead, what's your relationship with social media, and have you always posted a lot?
So, hi Toya, and thank you for having me on this show. So, my relationship with the social media especially is just like when I want to chill, I want to switch my chill mode on. So, I switch on to my social media, I switch on to Instagram, and I'm a social butterfly. I like posting lots of stories and reels. So, that is how it's a relationship between me and social media.
But I have to ask, how much sharing for you is too much sharing? So an easy way to answer that is, would you post a picture, for example, if you've just cried, you know, off your face with tears? That sounds absurd, but I know a lot of people do that too. So is that something you'd ever do?
It's never too much of sharing for me on social media. It's just like I won't post a picture of me crying it, but something related to the story which I'm going through. I'll post a reel or a story to make my followers realize that I'm going through some sad times or a bad time. So it is like that. So I keep on posting and keep my followers updated with it. So even.
But I have to ask then, if you post and you don't get the kind of response you want, so say you had a horrible day, you make a post about it, and then you don't get the kind of response you want, isn't there that flip side too, that then you're feeling worse?
Not at all. It's not like that. It's about like how I feel posting. I am a social butterfly and keep my followers updated, how they are feeling, how am I feeling too. So it's just like if I go missing out, like posting anything for 2 or 3 days, my friends are like, where are you? Are you doing fine or not? So to keep them posted, I keep myself, I keep on updating my social media on Instagram and Facebook.
Your argument is you do it for the community, basically.
I do it for myself as well.
Okay. Let's keep that. I want to go to Ayusha right now. Ayusha, you know, the stereotype is often that the younger you are, the more online you are. We often think that, even when we were discussing who we should get on the show, we were thinking, if we get someone who's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, that age group, these are people who are online all the time, and it's not just Instagram. You're 23, but you've navigated, is it fair to say, a mature relationship with social media, where you've decided for yourself, it seems, that it's not entirely for you being on there 24/7. Is that accurate as a summary?
Oh yes, definitely. I think my relationship with social media is something very love and hate one. Initially, I really enjoyed updating my friends about my life and everything that is going on. But over the time, I realized that this is not for me. That constant stream of notifications, that red like button, that notification box constantly popping up would send some, it would cause me so much, it would trigger my social anxiety, so to say. So I realized that this is not for me, and for the sake of my mental health, after a point, I decided to step back.
Can I ask you, because you said it triggered your social anxiety, and I actually want to take this question to both of you. did it trigger other things? And I ask you that because I know that when I use social media, and especially when I use it for too long, I find myself comparing myself to who I'm seeing online. And I don't just mean in the career perspective. Most often, in fact, for the women around me, it's in the physical perspective. I see even my mother, I see my grandmother, everyone who's using social media, your mind starts making comparisons. So did you see that happening, and how did you rework your relationship then?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think consuming too much of social media sets this, this urge in you to meet certain Eurocentric beauty standards, which might be very unrealistic. But you start pondering over it too much, and again, it starts taking a toll on your mental health. So that is also something I decided, or rather, I thought I should come up with another alternative to cope up with it, because at the same time I feel like social media is very important because you have to document certain things, say for example some milestones, some achievements. So social media that way becomes really important.
Shantanu, have you seen a downside of any kind in using social media all the time? Or for you, is it because you sounded so positive and it is so lovely to see such positivity? Has it been an entirely positive relationship for you? Have there been downsides? Tell us.
So it's like sometimes like you feel sad sometimes you just see this guy is having this kind of life, or this woman is having this kind of life. But we all know that we all have a different lifestyle. So it's fine. So like we have to, check it, like it's fine. Like it's completely all right for me. It's never a comparison because we know that we have a different lifestyle. That's it.
Okay, but you're telling me that. Are you able to tell yourself that when you need to at the right times?
Yeah, I know. I keep myself, explaining the thing. No, everyone has a different life and different path. So this is not the way that.
Okay, I want to ask you one last question, and this is again to both of you. Have you both taken prolonged breaks from Instagram or from social media in general, ever?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Oh, you have?
I have been on a 4-year hiatus now.
Oh wow.
I think this is my 5th year going on. I haven't posted even a single picture.
Wow.
Because of the same, the anxiety thing that I earlier talked about.
But you were saying that you also think it's important sometimes to post for milestones, etc. So then how do you balance that? Because there are a few social media platforms. In fact, these days people even use LinkedIn sometimes as a social media platform to do exactly what you're talking about. So do you not post on any social media platform? How have you moderated that? And then how do you keep people up to date with your life? Something as simple as that.
Right. So there's this another Gen Z thing, which I'm very grateful for. It's called Finsta.
Ah, yes.
So what I've done is I've not really...
Let me just tell our audiences before we go on. Yes. Finsta, when you have an account that doesn't have your name on it, some of us have multiple accounts without our names on them, so you sing. Yeah.
So for me, I have hidden my real profile picture, and even the username is very creative or absurd, so to say. So, and the people who follow me are people who I interact with on a daily basis. So it makes me very comfortable to share something with people who I know.
So that's an interesting way to go around it, because you're still using the platform, but you're not, your privacy, for example, is entirely intact, right? Okay, Ayusha, Shantanu, thank you for giving us that insight into both of your lives. It takes a lot to come out here and just talk about the way that you've shaped your perspective on this entire issue. All right, we wanted to bring you this right in the beginning to start the show with, because we wanted to give you two different perspectives on how younger people in particular are navigating their usage of social media. Let's go to a slightly more challenging example now. We have joining us live on the show this morning, Paras Tomar. He has 650,000 followers. He is Paras, let me just tell our audiences before we come over to you. You're an actor, but you post constantly, and your posts are so engaging. Your posts, your stories too. And I'm just telling our audiences that as we come to you, because you're, as we speak, in Korea, and over the last few days too, Korea has not meant that you're taking a break from Instagram at all. You're posting posts about, when you go shopping, for example, the kind of clothing hauls you've made. You're posting posts about every aspect. So first question for you is, how do you navigate the big question, Paras, of what is oversharing, what is not oversharing? Is there a boundary that you've sorted out in your own head?
Let me see. All right. So I was talking, one of my big videos I put up the other day was about the fact that, oh, look at how many hickeys I have. Now, I don't know if you would talk about that as oversharing, because as an LGBT activist, I was talking about the fact that you have these areas where LGBT People can find where they have to go. It's not really oversharing because I think the one thing I have done for myself always is to contextualize my oversharing with some information. So a lot of the people who follow me eventually, while I might be doing the masti, I'm partying, I'm talking about my new girlfriends and boyfriends, that could be considered oversharing. But there's always an undertone or an underlayer of something you will find as information. Because I'm known mostly for which is skincare, a lot of the stuff I'm normally doing is teaching you something. So oversharing for me has not really been a problem. Also, I genuinely, I always say I'm a bit of a narcissist and I'm a documentary filmmaker. It's just that the only thing I'm documenting is my own life. So I'm perpetually talking about what I am doing, where I am, what is up, and it's always fun. Like, for example, now that we're on this broadcast, a whole bunch of people who are following me will say, oh, humne dekha tha, you had bought this, they will know the price of what I have bought. They will know exactly where I bought it from. So I think the good part about this, and I have to say this is for a lot of people, and I hear some people talk about social anxiety, and I think, and I see this, I'm 40, I'm a CEO and a founder. In fact, I'm no more an actor. I run a business which did 300 crores last year. You have to also understand all those milestones also make you feel like you really arrived and like you feel successful. I'm no longer looking for validation. When I was 18, I was a journalist with your channel. So I started my journey like that, but I was always very sure of what I was doing. So I think social media for me actually has been a very different tool. I don't have a mom, I don't have a dad, I'm actually all alone. I went to a gay sauna about 3 days ago. I was in an alley. I'm not even joking. I felt so scared because I was like, hey, listen, what if I'm going to be in trouble? Putting up a small story there saying, guys, I don't know where I am. I actually felt a lot better. People knew where I was. I tagged the place. You can actually use it as a safety tool. A lot of people who say about social anxiety, when people say stuff like, I'm feeling jealous when I see other people's lives. I also think this is also currently a Gen Z problem versus a millennial problem. When I see someone who's great, I don't want to feel jealous. It's like, great, this is awesome. I want it. Let me work hard towards it. So I think very often it's about the narrative that you create. And as an entrepreneur, for me, when I see something which is amazing, which I think Insta is great for, you can either see it in a way saying, oh my God, look at how much the other person has, or say, hey, listen, I really like this life. Let me watch this story and say, okay, this is where he went. This is what he did. If it cost him, say, 35 lakhs to do this trip, let me earn the 35 lakhs because he's also giving me videos about how to run a business. So I think oversharing for me has not really been a problem because also, let's be real, I am open. I've been open about my life, my sexuality, my business, my numbers. And when you are that open, you don't really have much to hide. So in my case, the reason I don't call it oversharing is because everything in my life is transparent. And because it is all transparent, there is nothing to hide. I'm not simply sharing the good moments. I'm not simply sharing the bad moments. I'm sharing all the moments. We were coming to the country. We got stopped by customs for 45 minutes. They looked at my beautiful face. They're like, you're too good looking for this country. What's going on? Of course, we were documenting it. So now I'm going to go and tell people, saying, guys, we've come here without a South Korean visa, by the way, with one jol. Where you can, if you're going to Australia, you can transit for 30 days. So the thing for me is oversharing is great because in my case, it's always layered with multiple amounts of information. And I think that is why people watch this stuff and they're like, Hiki kahan se aaya? Was that a guy? Was that a girl? People are interested. You're breaking the LGBT barrier. You're breaking the party barrier. You're normalizing so much stuff by talking about it.
So you're almost saying that there's an undertone to every single thing you're doing. There's a message you're trying to spread. I just want to ask you though very quickly, we heard right before we came over to you, we heard someone talking about their social anxiety, and they were talking a little bit about how they've taken a hiatus altogether and how that's made them feel. I just want to ask you then, any advice you'd have to give to people as they're navigating social media, especially, if they haven't reached the confidence levels that you're at right now? You're saying it's been a journey that's gotten you here. What would your advice be? Would it just be to post through any anxiety?
The one thing I honestly don't do is I never look at comments. My team for business will look at comments. And that has been, anyone who's around me will see, Paras is never on his phone. I could be making a story, I could be shooting. I am never scrolling social media. I have zero interest. For the simple reason that I have so much happening in my life already. If I'm looking for information, I might look for it. The one thing I never do is, if you can stay away from comments, that will keep your life so easy. I'll tell you why. Great comments that make you feel wonderful. They make you feel like, oh my God, I'm the most important person on the planet. I am so incredibly good looking. I'm so successful. All the comments will make you feel good. If you're going to get so heightened, it's like an insulin spike, right? Like with sugar. If you're going to feel so happy about all the good things people are saying to you, and somebody says, listen, I don't like what you're wearing, that one comment is going to bother you. So as a rule for me, and if you go to my social media, I don't engage with comments. I just don't. It's kept me so simple. The second thing I will tell you is the current trend which is happening, where a lot of people will start saying, I'm unfollowing you. I'm unfollowing you. Say, this happens to me very often. I will put up content about Ayurveda. I will put up content about spirituality. I put up content about sexuality. Like with somebody who's following me for Ayurveda, who's not following me for the LGBT content. Then they'll say stuff like, I'm unfollowing you. You know, when people say log, char log kya kahenge, they don't realize they are the 4 people. And I've always been very clear about the fact that the day I start letting people following me or unfollowing me dictate my life, I'm in trouble. I'm very happy about people's generosity about following my life. At the same time, you have to be clear. I always say this even to my followers. I'm happy you follow me, but I don't live my life for your follow. And I think, like you're saying, that also comes with age, that comes with success, that comes with experience. If you can enjoy it without having to think that my entire life tomorrow is based on how many followers I have, you'll be fine. And I think Gen Z in that sense has a better handle because they have realized this is social currency is eventually called Momaya. Today people love you, tomorrow they will troll you. So you have to be very well balanced. The people who really are in your life are the people who love you no matter what. And I think when you understand that, it's nice to feel loved, it's nice to feel wanted, but you have to understand that the validation is going to come from strangers. The brick paths will also come from strangers. So eventually, if you don't read your comments, which is the one thing I do, you'll be fine. It just makes your life so much easier. And the other thing is that anyone says, hey, I'm unfollowing you because you put up these stories, I'm like, it's all right, fine. I'm very happy to have maybe 10 people who are following me. But there are people who really like me for what I really do. And even that's fine because I document it for myself. You know, the one other advice I give a lot of people who are now, also for us, it's business. I built a 2,500 crore company on social media. So I have a lot of regard for social media. My entire business today runs because of Instagram and Facebook. For us, it's commerce. I hire 600 people and their livelihoods are based on what Paras is doing, right? So for us, it's commerce. It's slightly different. But at the same time, my social media versus my brand social media, even though it's both Paras, is very different. My brand social media is very sanskari. There I'm maybe not showing as much chest hair and chest. But on my own Instagram, I'm like, hey guys, listen, this is where I am. The only thing I've done is my language is clean. And that comes from broadcast. I can say anything, but I will not abuse. My language will be clean. And that's the beauty of social media. You can say everything you want without feeling like you have to go through censorship, right? And that's what broadcast taught me. When I was at CNN News 18, you should be able to say whatever you want. Your language should not be abusive. And that's fine. I think credibility comes from that a lot.
Paras, thank you. It's so funny because we had so many questions for you and you've addressed all of them in just these 2 answers. Thank you for taking out the time, but also more importantly, thank you for telling us how we can navigate because you've got a very, very positive, it feels, a lot of respect also for what social media can help you do. So thank you for taking out the time. We know you're joining us right now from Korea as we speak. Let's go over very quickly right now to our third and our last guest. So we've all heard about how social media can affect you psychologically. Let's speak right now to someone who's going to give us all of the guidance when it comes to navigating this entire question. Let's go over to Archana Singhal just to understand a little bit more. She is 2 things. She's a family therapist. She's also a counselor. I just want to go over to him to ask her. Archana, just tell us, we've heard right now from a vast variety of reactions. We've got 2 kids right here in the studio who navigated, one a very positive relationship, one a slightly more complex relationship with social media. And we also just had Paras, who was a big advocate for using social media positively. His point being that there is a way to use it for good. I just want to ask you, there's been so much that's been written about the dopamine hit that you get.
Yes.
When you post something online, what is your thought? Archana, do you see it as negative, as positive? Let's just get that out of the way first, then we'll take further questions to you.
Yeah. So I'll just start with this dopamine thing that you just asked. Dopamine is a neurochemical that gets, generated in our mind when something pleasurable happens or we do something that gives us pleasure. For example, we are eating our favorite food or maybe we are talking to our favorite person. So we get this high, reward and pleasure thing in our head and that gives us a, that sense of fulfillment. So now this whole psychology thing, this dopamine thing has been brilliantly exploited by social media platforms, I would say. Unka ek like, the kind of like you get on the content you post, the comments you get, the shares you get, that gives you a sense of pleasure, accomplishment, social validation, and that actually starts generating that dopamine in your brain. And you get this, high, all-time high. It's like a drug, okay? So it might be negative, it might be positive. Yet I would say there is a way to take it. Like Paras said that he's been able to manage everything in moderation, but not everybody can do that. Teenagers today have started connecting or these likes with their self-worth. The problem rises there. When you connect the number of likes, the number of followers, the number of shares that you get with your self-worth, the problem rises there.
So I want to ask you, my fear with such conversations is often, are we underestimating younger kids? So is it possible, for example, and this is something we're seeing right now, where you're seeing, and I see this all around me, where in every field you have 21 and 22-year-olds, examples of 21 and 22-year-olds who are doing really, really well in the field. They're very, very confident. They're posting their entire journey on social media. So is it possible, maybe, and I'm just asking, that there are kids who've grown up with social media and it's actually making them really confident? Do examples like that exist also?
Yes, it makes them confident, but then it makes them fearful too. At times they just connect their self-worth with what kind of attention they are getting on social media, and that's where it hits them hard. Once they don't get that kind of attention, they start feeling worthless, that fear of FOMO. They want to share everything that is happening without realizing that it could be a safety concern for them sometime. So these are the things they need to be they need to address, or they need to be educated, especially with the adults they're living with, or maybe with the friends they are interacting with.
Let me ask you, what does cultivating a healthy self-worth? And it's so funny because we're talking about younger kids, but this is a question as relevant if you're 16, 20, 40. What does cultivating a healthy self-worth free from external validation look like? Or is that unrealistic?
See, human brain is wired to look for validation all the time. As early as childhood, we look for approval from adults, from our parents, from peers, from teachers. So, ये validation की जो feeling होती है ना, that actually is manipulated by social media platforms. वहाँ social media platforms पे इस तरीके की algorithm develop की जाती है जहाँ आप जो कंटेंट को मोस्ट लाइकली लाइक करेंगे या कनेक्ट करेंगे या कमेंट करेंगे, वो आपके सोशल मीडिया फीड पे सबसे पहले आ जाता है. दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ एल्गोरिथम दैट दे हैव डेवलप्ड. द सोशल मीडिया एप्स आर डिजाइन्ड सच दैट दे विल एक्सप्लॉइट दिस वेरी ह्यूमन नेचर ऑफ seeking validation and social connection. So I'm sorry, I missed.
The self-worth, then what does it look like?
Yes, the self-worth part. The self-worth part, you need to educate yourself that your self-worth is not dependent on others. It's something that you're born with. You have to work on it every day.
What does that actually look like?
Self-worth actually looks like being confident in your own skin, not looking for approval from others. Be confident about what you're doing. For example, if I am educating masses on my page, I know what content I'm posting. It doesn't matter the number of likes I get, the number of comments I get.
Are you actually able to, and I just want to tell our audiences, Archana, you have a very active social media page where you're always talking about this issue. So tell us, are you able to actually enforce what we're talking about in your own head, where you don't look at the engagement, or is it that you look at the engagement but you don't take self-worth from it?
I look at engagement, of course. I'm not a social media influencer. I'm a digital creator, right? So I look at the engagement. It matters, of course, but not to the extent of my self-worth. My self-worth is very separate from the kind of engagement I get on my social media platform. And honestly, Instagram gets really exhausting. That's the only social media platform on which I'm most active.
So before we let you go, I do want to ask you, walk us through the process. Tell us what you're telling yourself. So what do I mean? If you see a post and you see your brain suddenly making comparisons, whether it's from someone else in your field, whether it's another lady, whatever it is, what do you see your brain telling yourself, and what do you step in there and say instead?
I have a lot of similar accounts that I follow. They post brilliant account. So I take the similar accounts as mine as as inspiration rather than comparison. So the comparison thing is another different kind of a topic, I would say. It's downward, it's upward. It can be corrosive, it can be motivating. So it's the way you see it. I see it as motivating. I do compare, but not to the extent that if I'm not getting that much of the engagement, I'm not getting that much of the likes, then my work is worthless. I don't see it that way. I'm doing my job as per the best of my capacity. That's the belief I nurture and believe.
Can I just ask one last question to you? There's a lot in terms of studies that show that something like sports is excellent for us to get people to do because it cultivates a healthy sense of self-worth and competition. What are other things that our audience can do, stepping away from social media to do that?
They need to be very strong-willed about using social media in moderation, nurturing hobbies, engaging in some passionate outdoor activities, nurturing your recreational things. These are the things they need to focus on.
Your point is if you're doing each of these things and maintaining for yourself that there's a world outside social media, you won't get sucked in.
There has to be a strong will towards disciplining your life.
Okay.
You need to set time aside for everything. See, I tell my clients all the time that there is a one whole full glass of water for you that you can drink in the whole day. So you take 4 or 5 more glasses and distribute the amount of water you can have at regular intervals. So how would you do that? That those separate glasses will be the amount, that will be the activity you are ready to use that water into. So if you will be pouring more water in one glass only, that is the social media activity, that means whole of your energy is diverted there. So the best way would be to distribute one glass of water in separate glasses so that you can use it wisely for the whole day.
And maybe put very little in that social
Very
media
little
glass.
I wouldn't say little, that depends. If your business is dependent on social media, you might have to use a little bit more of the water in that glass, yet you need to be very clear about using your time wisely.
Those are beautiful words. Thank you so much, Archana, for laying it down for our audiences. Okay, we hope that you've gotten some guidance today in this broad discussion that we've had with people from our newsroom, with people who have to use social media for their business every single day, who use it as a tool of connection. All of that, I hope, has told you how not to connect it with your self-worth. We hope this has just opened some more questions for you to ponder through the rest of the day, especially as you're scrolling on your social media feeds. Keep it real, keep it balanced. Those have been some of our biggest takeaways today. Okay, we're going to head into a quick break. Right after the break, we're going to bring you stories taking place across the world and, of course, India. We'll see you in just a few minutes. This is The Breakfast Club.
Charge and in fact facilitate return of all the Indians working in the Russian army after the Prime Minister takes up the matter with the President Putin. This is very big development as 4 Indians have already been killed in the war, 10 have returned, but nearly 35 to 40 Indians are still believed to be stuck in Russia. Remember, India has been pressing very hard for return of all the Indians fighting in the Russian army as well, and it can be seen as a diplomatic victory for India. We have CNN News 18's Aman Sharma and Payal Mehta joining us on the broadcast. A very good morning to both of you. Aman, first coming to you, what kind of messaging can be decoded with the strategic partnership that India is trying to hold with Russia under Modi 3.0?
See, this is a very big development. Russia has decided to discharge and facilitate the return of all Indians which are fighting for the Russian army currently in Ukraine. This is a major breakthrough achieved during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ongoing visit to Moscow. The development has come after Mr. Modi took up the matter with Russian President Vladimir Putin during their private dinner on Monday. This is what sources are telling us. And, the plight of the Indians fighting for Russia and the Ukraine war has been a key concern for New Delhi. In recent months, reports had surfaced about Indians who had fallen prey to job frauds, were tricked and forced by scammers to fight for the Russian army, which allows recruits from other countries. So far, 4 Indians have been killed in the Russian-Ukraine war. 10 of them have returned to the country, but about 35 to 40 Indians are still believed to be stuck in Russia. And this is why the India's foreign ministry has earlier said that it has been pressing very hard to bring back these recruits. And in fact, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar had said that the issue is of very deep concern for India. They had been engaging with Russia for the past few months for a headway because the recruitment of Indian nationals in the Russian army is in a conflict situation, is not in consonance with the India-Russia diplomatic partnership. That is what Indian Foreign Ministry has been maintaining. So this breakthrough now coming during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Russia will be seen as a major diplomatic breakthrough.
Right, Aman. Please stay with us. Payal also continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Payal, why exactly having a very strong bond and a bonhomie with Russia at this point of time so important for India, also considering a couple of, strained border relations with rest of the countries?
Well, of course, India's visit to Russia is being keenly observed by many, including China and US, among the others as well. Remember, it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who
Welcome back to TBC. Let's take you now to stories from across the country and the world. First, we're taking you to a story that's based right here in Mumbai. This is the story of a Mumbai woman, Sarita Saldana, who's gone to extraordinary lengths to celebrate her beloved dog, Tiger. She's called the dog Tiger, his birthday. She purchased a gold chain worth 2.5 lakh rupees as a special birthday gift. And let's take you to the US with our next story. 130 million Americans are bracing for relentless heat as heat waves continue to grip the nation. Meteorologists are warning of oppressive heat and humidity that they say could push temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Officials are urging residents to take precautions and seek relief in cooling centers. This heat wave in particular that's being described as both dangerous but also, in the records it's setting, entirely historic. And now to outer space. NASA's global-scale observations of the Limb and Disk mission has identified enigmatic X-shaped and C-shaped structures in Earth's upper atmosphere, particularly within the ionosphere. Now, this layer, essential for long-distance radio communication, is typically influenced by solar ionization. Gold's recent observations have unveiled these unexpected formations. We're actually showing them to you on your screens. Apple is set to revolutionize its virtual assistant Siri with the introduction of its advanced Apple Intelligence AI system. It's set to roll out with the iOS 18.4 update. It'll enhance Siri's capabilities, making it more intuitive. This is an expected feature that it'll also include the ability to search through your photo library to find specific IDs and offer more robust tech support. So essentially, you'll be able to access and search through your whole library with just a single cue. And moving on, two pistols once owned by the iconic French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte have sold for 1.69 million euros. The gun holds history. This was Napoleon who once intended to use them to end his life. The sale follows the French government's recent classification of the pistols as national treasures, ensuring that they remain within the country. So even if you do buy them, it'll have to remain within the country. This dramatic transaction underscores the enduring fascination with Napoleon's legacy. And Etsy, the online marketplace that you can go on to buy crafty things, has ignited a controversy with a policy change. Effective July 29th, the platform will ban the sale of any kind of adult sex toys and many other erotic items, as well as products that, when modeled, expose certain body parts. Etsy claims the ban is a response to evolving industry standards. It aims to protect users, but many sellers are saying that there are going to be devastating impacts to their entire business structures. And Samsung electronic workers began a 3-day strike. They're hoping for better pay, with their union saying that more action needs to be taken. This is obviously South Korea's biggest conglomerate, and it continues to fall short of demands of its employees. Take a look.
Samsung workers began a 3-day strike for better pay in South Korea on Monday. The National Samsung Electronics Union said about 3,000 workers attended a rally near company headquarters south of the capital, Seoul. It further said Samsung's production operations could be affected and disputed media reports of low turnout. Union President Son Woo-mok.
특히 저희가 이번 파업의 가장 중요
What we think is the most important for this strike is to disrupt production.
위해서이기 때문에 그 생산 차질은
So we've been mainly encouraging those working on the production line to strike so that they can directly impact it.
라인에 계신 분들 위주로 그 파업 참여를 많이 독려를 했고요.
The union has demanded increased pay and leave and equality in the company's bonus system. Samsung has proposed flexibility in pay and leave conditions, but hasn't yet met union demands. The tech giant said there was no disruption in production Monday. Analysts said low participation and automated production means the strike is unlikely to have a major impact on output. But it still signals a fall in staff morale at a key point for the chip industry, as tech firms enjoy soaring demand for AI-related gear. Monday's walkout follows the union's first industrial action last month. The union said 6,540 workers will take action this week, mostly at manufacturing sites and in product development. The union has roughly 30,000 members who make up almost a quarter of the firm's South Korean workforce.
And let's move on from this to something different. Scientists have uncovered the intricate social lives of bats. They're revealing that these creatures share food and actively maintain friendships. The University of Chester, in collaboration with other institutions, is spearheading a groundbreaking project that monitors bat roosts in North Wales using innovative tracking technology. And this is news that came in just a few hours ago. Boeing has actually agreed to plead guilty to criminal fraud conspiracy charge. They are going to be paying a fine of $243 million to resolve a US Justice Department investigation into two 737 MAX fatal crashes. This has been the cause of much controversy over the last few months. The government has made this comment in a court filing. This is more on this story. It's historic, it's huge. Take a look.
Boeing has agreed to plead guilty to fraud charges relating to two fatal crashes of its 737 MAX jets. That's according to a court filing by the US government late Sunday. If approved by a federal judge, the plea would brand the plane maker a convicted felon. It will have to pay a fine of over $243 million and invest more in improving safety. The charges flow from the fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019, which killed 346 people. They were later traced to a design flaw in the jets, which has since been fixed. Boeing subsequently struck a deal with the Justice Department deferring any prosecution in return for compensating victims' families and improving its compliance. However, officials this year concluded that the firm had not complied with all terms of the deal. Boeing's position wasn't helped by the mid-air blowout on another MAX plane earlier this year, which raised new concerns about its quality control. It faces a separate criminal probe over that incident. Now the deal sees the firm admit to making false representations over a software system involved in the fatal crashes. It spares the company a contentious trial, but could result in other big costs. The conviction could bar Boeing from lucrative defence and NASA contracts unless it can agree waivers.
Okay, let's take you now to something entirely different. Let's focus on one of the country's big prides, ISRO. From lunar triumph to solar milestones that we saw stretched out all through this last year, this year has been a huge one for ISRO. Why exactly and what are the achievements that lie ahead? First, we're going to bring you this prepper. So what the last year has looked like in terms of milestones for the Indian Space Organization. After that, we'll bring you to a very special interview. But first, take a look at this recap.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
Lift off normal.
This last year has been an incredibly exciting one for ISRO, with the organization furthering humanity's footprint in space with each of its own achievements. On TBC, we take a look back at its milestones and bring you a peek into what the future holds for the country's space goals.
All necessary clearances are obtained for the launch of LVM-3M4 Chandrayaan 3 mission.
It's been a year since Chandrayaan 3 was launched from Sriharikota to the moon. Last August, we made history as India became the first country to land successfully on the lunar South Pole's tricky terrain. As the Vikram lander successfully touched down, celebrations broke out across the country, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi saying India is now on the moon.
जब हम अपनी आंखों के सामने ऐसा
इतिहास बनते हुए देखते हैं तो जीवन धन्य हो जाता है.
The mission was hailed world over for its innovative, relatively low-cost design as it cemented India's spot among global space superpowers. In the intervening months, its rover Pragyan has conducted multiple experiments providing valuable data on the moon's surface composition and its potential water ice deposits, which are crucial pieces of information as we ponder the big question of human habitation. Just a few weeks ago, ISRO captured breathtaking images of the Chandrayaan-3 lander Vikram and the Pragyan rover resting on the lunar surface months after having successfully completed their mission. Let's jump forward now from the moon to the sun.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Lift-off normal. Pivot tracking. CC tracking.
Aditya L1 was launched by ISRO on the 2nd of September last year. The goal? Observing and helping us better understand the largest object in our solar system. This mission is India's first dedicated solar observatory aimed at studying the sun's outermost layers. It carries 7 payloads, all created within the country, to observe various aspects of the sun and to provide vital data to understand solar activities and their impact on space weather. Unlike missions to the moon, which take about 3 weeks, missions to observe the sun take months because of the much greater distance they have to cover. A few days ago, Aditya L1 actually completed its first halo orbit around the Sun-Earth L1 point. Aditya L1 continues to be talked about, not just for the data it's provided, but also, like Chandrayaan-3, for the nimble budget. This time of just 600 crores, with which each of these milestones have been achieved. But let's take you now to the big milestone that's got everyone at the edge of their seats. Earlier this year, ISRO's chairman S. Somnath had announced that 2024 would be a year of Gaganyaan readiness. The Gaganyaan mission is the country's maiden attempt to send humans into space. The 4 Air Force officers who have been selected will be the first Indian astronauts in 40 years and the first ones to make the journey on an Indian spacecraft. Just 3 countries, the United States, Russia and China, have successfully carried out human spaceflight missions, as they're called, till now, and India eyes joining the list in 2025. But before that, important test missions will have to go smoothly. An unmanned mission to orbit, a test for the equipment and algorithm, and a test to check the launch pad scenario. ISRO has also finished preliminary design works for Module 1 of India's space station, the Bharatiya Antariksh Station. The organization is, as we speak, preparing to submit the station's design plan to the government. Each of these achievements come at a particularly interesting time for India's space story, because weeks ago in June, a privately developed launch pad was used by Indian startup Agnikul Cosmos to successfully launch a suborbital test vehicle powered by the world's first single-piece 3D printed rocket engine. As ISRO congratulated Agnikul for its private sector triumph and the cutting-edge ingenuity that went into it, one wonders what electrifying new realms of space innovation and collaboration India will explore over the next few decades. For now, it's an exciting new few years ISRO has planned. Human spaceflight, lunar exploration, and ISRO's upcoming Mars Orbiter Mission 2, where it hopes to land a rover on the red planet. All promise an exciting, awe-filled next few years. Not just for all of us glued to these developments here in India, but for millions watching from all around the world.
So we wanted to bring you that recap so that you understand just how busy and how monumental the last 1 year has been for the Indian Space Research Organization. Each of its achievements and what they entail, not just for India, but also for all of humanity. We're bringing you today, and we're so honored to bring you today this next interview with ISRO's chief Somnath. He's going to unveil what the future of space exploration is going to look like, what the big plans are for ISRO in this 1 year. Take a look at this exclusive chat.
At the same time,
the other focus has been, in the last couple of weeks at least, is the extended stay of Sunita Williams and Wilmore at the International Space Station. As the head of the space agency here, how do you view it, sir? Because we have a Gaganyaan mission coming up. Are there key takeaways, sir?
Yeah, of course, it is a very important observation for us in a first flight of a new spacecraft. Getting into some difficulties is a very important lesson for anybody who is designing it. For me, as a Gaganyaan craft is getting designed at this moment, we look at it very ways how situations can crop up of this nature. This could be this, or it could be many other possibilities. So we look at it in that manner, how to strengthen it in terms of the design, and how to find out alternate ways by which crew can be saved in case you end up in problem. These are topics of discussion today. It is a long journey, difficult journey, and we are attacking each one every day, trying to do the managerial task as well as technical executional task. There are challenges, of course, in terms of numbers or tests. Compared to the regular launch vehicles, the number of tests are huge because the qualification requires that type of demanding, and the entire success is scrutinized by communities other than ISRO, because there are committees who will look at its reliability very critically before we authorize people to fly. So there is something called human rating and high levels of reliability building on this. So all these are happening at various levels. Then we have to conduct missions without any flow. That also is a huge task. So all of these are going well. Of course, little bit stretching of the times are happening, but I am not concerned about it at this moment.
Is that why you said it should be so reliable that you can put a head of a state in that?
Yeah, it should be like that. Yeah. No, if every life is precious, I think it should be made for the head of the state. Yeah, the design is ready. It's actually on my table, the whole of the design protocol and design book. It's beautiful to see that we are able to conceive such a first part of the Bharatiya Antariksh Station that can be launched using our current rocket. But that's not enough. We have to scale it up bigger. So a new rocket is also needed, and a bigger space station module is needed. So we have divided the module into 5 different units. The first 2 that will be launched by the current rocket called LVM3, and next 3 will be launched by the new rocket NGL. Yeah, essentially what we are speaking today are to create the enthusiasm and interest in this domain. The background work is technical, much more involved. That's happening. We have configured a very complex mission of 2 rockets to handle this 4 modules up there and dock and take it to Moon. Then collect the sample and come back. So this detailed engineering work has to happen now, whereas the preliminary work is already done.
Let's take you now to the Ambani celebrations. They're serving iconic looks at the Anand Ambani and Radhika merchant pre-wedding ceremonies. Take a look.
Anand Ambani and Radhika Merchant's pre-wedding ceremonies have undoubtedly turned into a fashion fiesta, as expected. We mean, we are literally swooning over not one, not two, but many iconic looks served. For the Mameru ceremony of the couple, Neeta Ambani exuded royalty in a beautiful dual-tone Sabyasachi bandhni sari. But more than the beautiful sari, we couldn't stop looking at her statement neckpiece. The quirky touch to the Gujarati getup was this exquisite diamond necklace that featured a huge emerald-studded centerpiece which resembled the shape of the iconic cartoon character Mickey Mouse. Just like us, this playful detail has impressed many netizens for her impeccable fashion sense. Neeta Ambani paired this statement neckpiece with matching diamond earrings and 2 diamond karas. Next up is Isha Ambani, who made all jaws drop with her stunning appearance at the star-studded Sangeet ceremony. She chose a vibrant blue Schiaparelli sari, which is reportedly the first ever sari designed by Schiaparelli creative director Daniel Roseberry. The billionaire heiress paired the figure-hugging sari with a silver blouse that came with an elevated collar and diamond jewelry. We think what made this sari more alluring was the detailing around the waist that gave a cinched look. And of course, Isha rocked this look. We have 0 notes. Speaking of notes, Shloka Mehta too made us take notes as she recreated the favorite look of every 90s girl. For the Sangeet, Shloka picked a peach lehenga inspired by Kareena Kapoor Khan's Bole Churiya outfit. Designer Manish Malhotra created this custom lehenga for the Badi Bahu of the Ambani family that came with a cropped blouse featuring a jeweled one-shoulder neckline, resham and sequin embroidery and butterfly-adorned tassels on the hem. Her floor-sweeping matching lehenga featured an A-line silhouette and peach sequin embellishments, which she completed with a matching embroidered dupatta adorned with tassels and resham work. Then there's the bride-to-be Radhika Merchant's Apujani Sandeep Khosla lehenga adorned with shimmering Swarovski crystals. This look has to be one of our all-time favorites. Wow, we really can't wait to see more top-notch fashionable moments from the wedding. Whose outfit did you like the most?
Okay, next let's take you to something we bring you every day, a special section on financial markets. It's powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's take a look first, an overview for you of the markets. So, GIFT Nifty indicates a cautious opening for Indian stock markets. US markets gained last night. They closed at record highs. Investors are awaiting cues from the US Federal Reserve Chairman's address to the US Congress. Now, crude oil prices as we speak, they're holding steady. This is as traders are, as we speak, weighing supply risks. Let's bring you now a specific look at sectors, and we look particularly at auto ancillary companies that are supplying to the commercial vehicle sector. They have much to look forward to in the next few months. Why is that? Number one, demand, you'll remember, has obviously suffered during the general election. It does suffer, but a revival as we speak is on the cards. EVs remain a new growth area, that's electric vehicles. It's leading to an improvement in the content of components per vehicle. You can also log into Money Control Pro to find a deeper dive into each of these aspects that we've just brought up about all of the prospects for electric vehicles in particular, so EVs in particular, but also on auto component suppliers to EVs and other actionable insights. It is the premier destination for all investing views and financial insights that you're ever going to need. It's brought to you by Money Control. Okay, and with that, we are bringing our show to a close. We hope you found today's show a little helpful. We hope that you checked your phones, you saw how much internet usage you had yesterday, particularly social media usage you had yesterday. And we hope that today, when you go home in the end of the night, when you're checking, that usage has fallen less, or you've navigated your relationship with it, stopped for a second as you're scrolling and gone, do I want to do this? Thank you for watching the show. We'll see you tomorrow. Do send us your feedback on this episode. Tell us if you found it helpful and tell us what you'd like to explore through the rest of the week. Goodbye.
Day 2 of Mission Moscow. It's time to get down to business. The pleasantries are over. The trust remains. The friendship intense. Now will both nations address the pressing issues and surge forward. Stay with us all day on CNN News 18.
Excellencies and used his diplomatic connections whatsoever that he had when he was safely able to evacuate Indian students stuck in Ukraine during the beginning of the war. Remember, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to both the Israel president as well as Ukraine president as well as the Russian president, and a safe evacuation of the Indian students really happened as well. So this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first visit ever since he became the Prime Minister out of the country. He's gone on a diplomatic visit as well. So obviously it's a very important visit given the fact that there's going to be the discussion of the Ukraine war also, which is going to be on the agenda, because the Indian government has always been of the opinion that war is not the solution for anything else, and we are not in a condition to wage war as well. So of course other key issues including defense and the fact that India has been buying its petrol from Russia has also been on the watch for many countries, especially in the West as well. So all these discussions will be extremely important as Prime Minister Narendra Modi continues with his visit. Of course, he had a first. He landed there yesterday. He had a one-to-one meeting with the president, with President Putin yesterday, and the results are already there for people to see. There are many Indian families who wanted their people to be back, given the fact that several Indians had laid down their lives, had in fact suffered because of the war in Ukraine, and basically they were converted into soldiers for the Russian army, but they will now be